Hi, today we are going to discuss about the Spring Boot framework. We all know the Spring Boot framework was advanced framework for the Spring framework. So Spring Boot that has brought lot of features. Um, it actually helps you to accelerate the application development. It will provide lot of features like auto wiring and auto configurations. You could also have embedded server inside the Spring Boot applications. It actually accelerate the development time so that people could automatically build application programming APIs. So you can see here the simple controller is how we are going to write a controller here. If you go for a Spring framework, so we need to do a lot of dependency configurations inside XML or configuration classes. But we are just using annotations here. Yeah, you can see here great REST controller annotation on top of the class, and this REST controller automatically will mark this particular class as a controller. So we don't need to do anything except marking this class as a controller. And also there is a method, you can see public string index method, and we actually mark this with the annotation get mapping. So get mapping is for get URI. It will get all the details. So in the same way we can create multiple methods: put mapping, delete mapping, update, um, and get. So we have a lot of URI. So these Spring API is actually, the Spring Boot API is providing a lot of annotations where we can simply use these annotations to mark any class, to mark any method with the particular annotations. So that way it simply works as we expected. We don't need to do any configuration and any dependency injection management. We don't need to do that. Spring Boot itself, it is automatically taking care of all these dependency injection and inversion of control. So just using annotations, right? So if I want, so every Spring Boot application should have a main class which actually initiates the instantiate the application, which actually runs the Spring Boot application. So that is why we will have a great Spring Boot application annotation here. We marked this class as a main class, and also we are actually creating a bean because we want to run we want to display the bean names that are created when this application is instantiated. So we are just using command line runner. This is one of the feature provided along with the Spring Boot to simply run or print any data, to load data, to get some data while the application is starting, or when the application is started. This command line interface would be useful for us. Okay. So we also have multiple annotations. You can see configuration, configuration. So we actually mark any component using configuration. If I want to make that class as a configuration classes, enable auto configuration annotation. Generally we use it to enable the auto configuration. You can specify any configuration properties in the application.properties file, and this auto configuration will enable us automatically the data source details and other details. Component class, so it will scan the package. Let's say you created a classes under a com.example package, and it will scan that. It will tell to the Spring container, Spring application container, the classes were created under particular this package. Okay, so you can simply run the Spring Boot application, like using a Gradle. If you are using Gradle, or if you are using Maven, you can use /munw Spring Boot :run. Okay, that way the application will get started, and you can access the application using the port 8080, and it will print the data. Right, Spring Boot it is also providing the testing framework where you can add a dependency, Spring Boot starter test dependency in application, and this will give you the features to write test cases, and you can write the test cases for each and every service class or repository or controller. If you want to write it, you can do that. Okay, it actually simplifying the test classes as well here. So this is just an introduction and how to start with the Spring Boot framework kind of session. You could understand all these things. There are many features are there, like actuator feature, so you can include this dependency so that you can actually see the health and statistics of a particular application using actuator feature. So that is one of the feature provided with the Spring Boot. There are many features. You can include third-party data sources, NoSQL data sources, also MongoDB, Cassandra you can include, or if you want to include any messaging queues, you can also include dependencies related to that. Spring Boot is providing all the dependencies required for third-party applications. It actually simplifies the development approach, and it fasters the development also. It actually accelerates the development. Okay, let me show you the simple image, the flow, how it works. So here you can see so Spring Boot flow architecture, repository, class, extending CRUD services. So initially client sends the request, we will write a controller, because we will mark we need a controller class, we will mark it @REST controller annotation, and service layer. We have to write a service layer, so the request goes to the service layer. From the service layer, it will actually goes to the database through JPA. Spring Data JPA is one of the feature. It's like a ORM framework where we deal with the data using objects, Java objects. So you can see here how we are doing it, and you can see the model is automatically injected into service layer, and service layer is automatically injected into controller. We are not doing any explicit configurations and explicit dependency injections. We are not mentioning any XML files and anywhere, but just simply specifying annotations. When the application is instantiated, the Spring itself, Spring container will take care of all these dependency injections and auto wiring. Everything will be taken care by the Spring Boot itself. That is why the Spring Boot framework is a very good framework, and nowadays almost all the companies and all the developers, they are using Spring Boot framework for developing application programming interface. Thank you very much.